Welcome back to Hometown Commander. As always, I am your host, and with me, as always, is...
Your boy, Millsy. I was it's great. Your boy, Millsy.
Wait, did I say Millsy and then you say Millsy?
I don't know. We're both Millsy today.
We're both Millsy. That's the awkwardness today.
Guys, episode 2. We are back again.
Episode 2. Can we call it episode 2?
The Return.
Okay, so wait, this is like Star Wars episode 2.
The Return Electric Boogaloo. We're back.
No, this is like Star Wars episode 2, where it's like, oh, episode 2 was Empire, but then George was like, no, episode 2 is something different. And then everybody hated it until they didn't. Anyways.
Is that the one with the ships?
Please die. Love you. Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about our thoughts on OTJ, OTOJ, the TJ.
Outlaws at Thunder Junction, of Thunder Junction, near Thunder Junction.
Murders of Markov Manor.
At Thunder Junction.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Mainly just legendaries today, right? We're going to go through our kind of picks for our favorite legendaries. Mm-hmm. We'll do a 99 set review a little bit as well.
I thought you were going to talk about like every single card we're going to go through.
Yeah, limited set review, boys. We're doing it.
We're going to go through the vault. We're going to go through the vault cards too, and just talk about how like crazy that sword is. But anyways, we are just going to jump right into it. Millsy, give me that first legendary that you think is just that cool.
I don't want to talk about him because you boys risen up the Magic Universe and he's getting a little bit too confident. But I got to start for my first pick. I got to go with Kellen the Kid, a Bant legendary. One of each, a 3/3 human fairy rogue. Got to get all those types on the type line.
I'm waiting for a 4-type character.
Flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Well, Mikey, as we've seen in Magic's most recent past, anytime you put a lot of good text on a card, it definitely doesn't go well at deck building. And there's definitely no way we can use Kellen to make a good deck.
He's a 3/3 for 3 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of text.
Frick, it is just like one stat. It's just one text box. It's not like Questing Beast where it's like 8 different lines.
That's what I'm getting at.
But what I think is interesting here is it pays off everything you want Bant to do anyway.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me a lot of Tulane, right?
Exactly
where we're paying off something we already want to do anyway. Now, for the record, it has to be from anywhere other than your hand. So it's not like you're just casting spells like you would in like a Modi or like a Cascade style deck. Right. It's probably what you want to play into. Yeah. But, you in that deck, you're getting the payoff right when you cast the spell. Here, you're getting the payoff when you cast from somewhere else, whether you're flashing things back or whether you're plotting.
Well, I was also thinking of like, since, 2 of his other cards are adventure cards. Easy.
Adventure. So I think
Kellen deck.
And I think what makes it really good is those first few turns, you may not have a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value off the top of your hand. And it is cast, so you can't do a land with the first part of the ability, but you can do a land with the second half of the ability. So, and this isn't once per turn. So, you could literally just be dumping lands out of your hand, a la that Tulane style, where you're just literally dumping lands out of your hand and refilling your hand for more value. So, do I think Kellen's the most broken Bant commander we've ever seen? No, not by any means. But I think for some...
It's not Arcades, calm down.
For some people, it's better than that Gorian that we had from Baldur's Gate for that adventure style. If you're looking to go back to the Bant and you didn't want the Teamer style adventure commander that we got in Wilds of Eldraine. So I think it's interesting. I think it's a card that has high potential. You don't have to just play it here. I think as its own commander, I think this is a card that's pretty killer in the 99 as well, especially in a like your 4-color style Cascade decks or something like that, if you want to go that route. But I just think I both love and hate when Wizards Prince of Command has so much good text in its text box. Right. And I think this is just another example of one of them.
I mean, even if it's at your commander, or if it's in the command zone is what I was trying to say, it has flying and lifelink. It's a 3/3. So, I mean, like, there's no way of pumping this guy and, like, allowing...
there's a lot of ways you could take the deck, and that's what I think makes good commanders. As we've seen in the past, the more ways you can build it, the more it gets built, because the more options you have. I would go ahead and put out a guess that I think Kellen will be in the top 5 for decks built for this set when we eventually get there. That's not including
from this set,
including the commander deck commanders. I mean, just from the main set commanders,
Right.
I think Kellen's going to be in the top
Right.
5 for sure.
I can definitely agree with that.
Well, Mikey, let's get to your first choice.
Oh boy, here we go.
And this is an interesting one.
It's an Is It Commander, which if I don't know anything, I don't know what it is.
What is it?
What is it? Yeah.
Awkward pause.
Awkward pause. All right, so this is Breaches, the Blast Maker. He is a 3-mana 3/3, so 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. He is a legendary creature, goblin, pirate. He's got the Menace.
The Menace. It's important.
It says, this is another long line of text. Here we go. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, flip a coin. When you win the flip, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that copy. If you lose the flip, Breaches the Blast Maker deals damage equal to that spell's mana value. This dude is crazy. Crazy.
And what's fun, and we'll put it up on the screen now, is that Breaches does really well still with Malcolm, who also got released in the set, Malcolm the Eyes. Of course, they're no longer partners this time around, but Malcolm fits really well in the deck. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you investigate, which would give you that artifact token, being able to then use Breaches' ability.
Yeah.
Now, we joked, right, when we were talking about this commander, I said, man, there's no way in Is It for you to make artifact tokens.
No, not one bit. I mean, you can make clues, you can make treasures really easily in these 2 color combinations. This definitely goes well if you're going to play like a Kark Sakashima kind of style deck where you're just like, I'm going to just flip whatever I want to and then maybe I'll get like an extra little bit of value out of this. I think him as your commander is really, really cool. It gives you another like niche option if you want to go that coin flip route, which there is a lot of options for it. It was really funny. I joked with Millsy earlier this week. I was like, man, I got to stop worrying about these niche commanders. And then I'm like, Breaches.
Niche commander. No.
Niche commander.
I actually think that of the 2 of these, Breaches and Malcolm, right? I think Breaches is the better choice for a commander. I think it's going to be easier. The problem with Malcolm is yes, there are payoffs for clues in Is It, but you'd want to use Malcolm in something like Galazeth or a deck like that where you could take real advantage. What I like about Breaches is Breaches probably doesn't blip people's radars when you sit down. Breaches is your commander, whereas if you sat down with Krakashima or something like that, you're going to get a different response. You know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important. I'm not saying that you should specifically pick commanders for your deck so that no one sees it coming. I'm just saying that sometimes it can bring out what you want from your deck. And having Breaches, of course, now you have a pirate in the command zone if you still want to use the pirates and things like that. A lot of those pirates still care about treasures, which I feel like would work for this deck really well, right?
Oh, yeah.
And would allow you to get that. And I kind of like this ability because when you win it, you copy it. When you lose it, you just deal damage. This isn't Krakashima where if you lose it, the spell goes off the stack and goes back to your hand. You kind of get something.
You still get something, yeah. You're gonna either get the spell or you're gonna get the spell twice. Or you're gonna get the spell and damage or the spell twice.
And then you have access to all those coin flipping, stuff that you have access to in that kind of style. If you want to bring that in as well with that one. So Bridge is an interesting pick. I like the card. I just worry that it's going to be still a little bit niche to be like super well built. But I love the idea of it.
My biggest issue with a lot of the Is It cards in this set, and we'll probably see this a little bit later, is it's always the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in every single Is It card when you cast your second spell.
Because that's the theme, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool, I get it, because you're like, you boom, boom, that's what it is. It's 2 shots. It's really what it is. But what I kind of hate about it is I really wish somehow, I was thinking about this earlier today, but I was like, could there be a way where it said, like, cast or copy your second spell? Does that make sense? Because it's easy to copy a spell and that'd be your second one.
Well, a card that we're not talking about in this episode that I actually really like in this style of deck, and I think it's going to be popular for a lot of reasons, is the new Geralt.
Yeah.
I'm going to mention it here. I'll put it up on screen so that y'all can read it. He says whenever you cast a spell during your turn other than your first spell, you get that 2/2 zombie.
Yep.
And what I like about Geralt is it's playing with this second spell a turn, but it keeps going. Mm-hmm. And so this really pays off those stormy type decks that are going to start trying to play. Those are, my Arcane Bombardment style decks that I love so much. These dump a ton of things, Mythic's Mastery style decks Geralt feels really great for that. Geralt in the past has always just been a zombie commander. He's always just been what I love about this is
Just normal blue black zombies.
Geralt, and as well as a card like Puppet Stitcher, which I'll put up on screen. I like these zombie cards that can be spell slinging cards. They're not just zombies.
Yeah.
I mean, Geralt will be a great zombie commander in his own right. And we're not going to talk about Geralt in this episode. Neither of us picked Geralt for this episode, but.
He's a great 99.
I really like Geralt in the 99 of a lot of decks, especially the more things you cast, the better.
For sure. All right, man. Well, what's your
Well,
second?
I feel like it fits really well that we're mentioning this commander right after I just talked about Geralt, because my second commander I want to mention is Gisa the Hellraiser. Of course, Gisa and Geralt being brother and sisters from Innistrad, always like to fight even to death, and Gisa and Geralt, of course, on Thunder Junction helping out Oko. Gisa's cards in the past have always been really good, and I really like this one. A 5 mana 4/4 human warlock, ward 2 and pay 2 life. I'm loving these multiple ward costs on creatures.
Great.
Skeletons and zombies you control get +1/+1 and have menace. I really love that we're batching these together because skeletons haven't gotten a lot of love.
No.
They really haven't. Other than what
there was something in AFR.
The Death Baron, isn't he a skeleton that also buffs zombies? But
yes.
there aren't a ton of good skeletons.
Yeah.
So I like that we're putting them together. But it says whenever you commit a crime, we make 2 tapped 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue creature tokens, and this only triggers once per turn. So a lot of this set is limiting crimes to once per turn, which I completely understand. It'd be kind of broken if we just let you absolutely storm off and commit crimes. Remember, committing crimes is targeting opponents, anything they control, or cards in their graveyards.
Yep.
So I like this. In a mono black deck, committing crimes is what you want to be doing.
Yep.
Whether you want to go the discard route. Mono black has access to so much great removal.
Yep.
Getting things back from reanimating stuff from your opponent's graveyards is considered to be committing a crime.
It's basically like targeting, really.
And so, to me, there's so many black cards that fit this kind of schedule of doing that. Or there's mono black cards that exile, right? There's so many of these great removal spells in black that I think what Gisa does that some other removal focused commanders don't always do well is she's really paying you off for doing it. Remember, it's once per turn, not once per your turn.
Yeah.
Meaning that if on all of your opponent's turns you're saving the mana and interacting on their turns, you can really be making some zombies that are then going to be untapped on your turn and have menace and be able to start attacking.
Which you should be keeping that mana up, and you should be doing this. Like, this is like what I love about my Olela deck is like I'm more worried about the other turns more than my turn, and I think that's something that
I'm actually not sure how the ruling would be, but I imagine this would work really well, and I'll put them up on the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This would work really well with things like Virtue of Purulence, the one where you take a creature out of a graveyard and bring it back under your control every turn. I don't know if that targets, but if it does, you're committing
if it says the word target, then I guess so, yeah.
Things that let you just reanimate something every turn, or reanimate, get something back from your opponent's Breach the Multiverse or something like that. These just random black spells that are going to end up targeting. I feel like these are the things that are going to make Gisa even better. I also really like Gisa because this still works with all of our older cards as well. So you can bring those in, and if you're reanimating your opponent's things, you can sacrifice them with the last Gisa the Ghoul Caller, and get zombie tokens. Yeah. I'll put that up on the screen so y'all can see what I'm talking about. But to me, it's really cool that this is a cool new Gisa, but it also really works with the previous Gisas as well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since she's going to buff them with a +1/+1. I mean,
she won't buff the Gisas because they're all humans,
the zombies.
But all the zombies you're making are going to get buffed.
No.
And I don't think, of course, this is not a better zombie commander than Wilhel. I still think Wilhel's the best zombie commander we've ever seen. It has way too much combo potential for it not to.
It really does.
But what I like about this is there's probably some people out there who want to play mono black zombies. I feel like mono black is what really represents zombies, right?
Yeah.
It kind of has that zombie feel to it. And so I mean, I haven't looked at zombie commanders in the last little bit, but I think Gisa's probably one of the better ones for zombie commanders because you just get so much value for 5 mana, and then this ability that you should be getting at least one of every 4 turns.
I can agree. I like it. All right, so my next one is a fun one because I wanted to debate something for a little bit. It's actually the first one on this list, and maybe no, it's not the only one, but it's the first one on this list that's not a part of Oko's gang. This is Magda the Horde Master. She is a 2-mana 2/2, so 1 colorless, 1 red for 2/2, legendary dwarf berserker. It says whenever you commit a crime, which I'll refer back to that real quick, that says targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards is considered a crime. So anytime you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Sacrifice 2 treasures, create a 4/4 red scorpion dragon creature token with flying and haste. Activate this as a sorcery.
So what you're referring to is how do we feel about
Old Magda versus
Magda the Hornmaster
this
versus
Magda.
Magda Brazen Outlaw, a 2-mana 2/1 that says other dwarves get +1/+0. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, you create a treasure, and then you sacrifice 5 treasures to go get any artifact or dragon from your library.
Yep.
Put it onto the battlefield.
Yep.
And
So I want to debate if this was going to be better. I actually think it will be because I think it has more potential to commit more crimes on other people's turns, and you're still going to get those 3 treasures that right back on your turn to get another 4/4. What is it, Scorpion Dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the question here comes down to 2 things. One, Mikey, what color are treasures primary in?
Oh, I don't know, red.
Oh, wow. It seems like we're going to have a lot of support there, aren't we?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, Mikey, how hard is it going to be to commit a crime in red?
A lightning bolt is the first thing that comes to
The
mind.
answer is not very hard.
And then to refer back to the treasures, you ever played Dockside Extortion?
I think it comes down to how you build the decks, but I have a gut feeling Horde Master is going to be better. And the reason why is because you can potentially get that treasure on everyone's turn, depending on how you build your deck. No, you don't get to go cherry pick your choice of artifacts out of your deck. I think the thing that makes Brazen Outlaw so good is when you go get things like Portal of Phyrexia out of your deck for 5 treasures and can blow people out.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's some thought there, but my other thing is those dragons come in with haste.
This is
Those
true. I
tokens
did
come
not
in
say
with
that.
haste.
Yes.
And so if you really were to stack up some treasures using some more sweaty methods, I think there's a chance there. I think it all comes down to how you build it. I think it's close. I think Horde Master has slightly better potential, but you also got to remember, I think Horde Master also goes a lot better in a lot of other decks over Brazen Outlaw.
Yeah.
Brazen Outlaw is a great card in a lot of decks because you don't even need to get the treasures from it. You just sacrifice the treasures through it.
Yep.
What I like about Magda the Horde Master is it's going to help you get more treasures. So if you're playing those Galazeth or those Brutaclad or those Izzet decks that really care about artifacts, I think Magda the Horde Master will also help you a little bit more than some of those other ones will.
At the end of the day, treasure is still ramp, and that's something that red doesn't really do very well. So,
It turns out treasure be good.
Treasure
it's
do
this
be
crazy
good.
concept where treasure's actually good.
Yep, I agree.
Again, I love seeing Magda get a new card though.
Yeah.
Magda's a character, to be 100% honest, I didn't really think that they'd acknowledge. Like when we heard that OTJ was going to be this villain team up type set.
Yeah.
Oko and his merry band of villains. And, we then got to see some of these random cards like Marchesa, show up in the set. I was like, what other villains are we going to see? And we saw some interesting ones, but Magda just kind of caught me off guard.
I forget she's a villain, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, apparently I didn't pay enough attention to the Call Time story because I wouldn't have guessed that. But interesting nonetheless, and I'm happy to see a new card.
Yeah, same. I might do something with this, honestly. It is mono red. You know me and mono red. We love each other and we hate each other.
Mono red's pretty cool.
We love and hate each other very much. But yeah, no, I definitely can't. What I really was interested to see, or what I'm interested to see, is if, it changes any of, I'm referring back to CEDH, I play CEDH, every day. But I'm interested to see if, it changes the CEDH format. Magda is the best mono red commander right now because of what she does. Probably not because there's more artifacts in CEDH than what we play here, but tomato potato.
Yeah, as it turns out, there are no zero cost artifacts that have any good abilities at all.
Mana Crib, Mox,
a lot of them. I'm really intrigued. This would be a fun thing to look at a year from now.
Yeah,
and see which of them is played more and which of them has more decks.
Yeah,
but this one. Definitely intrigues me for sure. Well, my last of our main 3 choices.
Let's go.
We kind of each picked the top 3, and then we picked some honorable mentions. My last one is a card that I think we'll see some play as a commander, and I think it's going to see a play in the 99 of a lot of decks. And that's Cabal Profiteering Mayor. He's a mayor, and he's apparently profiteering, so good for him. Legendary creature human advisor, 2/4 for 3 mana, good stat line. Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your opponent's control for each of them,
Uh-huh.
create a tapped token that's a copy of it. This ability only triggers once each turn. I'll get back to why I think that block of text is interesting. And then it says whenever one or more tokens, and that's not the whole ability, Mike. We have a whole other part of this ability.
There's a whole other paragraph.
Whenever one or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life.
That's not good at
I
all.
think Kumbal would be pretty darn good, even if it was just the top text box.
Yeah.
But to add the bottom one is really good.
That's
now,
gross.
the only bad part about the bottom, and I know, oh my gosh, it's so bad, it says one or more.
Yeah, so it's not you're going to gain one and lose, and then everybody else is going to lose one for each token, right?
So the question is going to become here is, with the top ability, let's say my opponent creates 5 1/1 rats.
Yeah.
Okay? Kumbal goes off, says whenever one or more enter the battlefield, for each of them, create a tap token as a copy of them. I'm assuming I'm creating them all at one time.
Yeah.
That's my assumption.
Yeah.
And if so, okay, I'm only getting one trigger.
You are, because it's the same as Chatterfang. He does the same thing, so.
But here's the thing, it's still really good.
Oh, for sure.
And believe me, there are no Orzhov token decks that happily want more. I look at something like a Taste of Karlov or something like that. Mm-hmm. They're going to really want this card. And not only that, but you look at things like Shadrick Silverquill and some of these Orzhov cards that make your opponent's tokens, or you can choose to make your opponent's tokens or give them things.
Yep.
Well, now you're getting them too, and you're creating value for them. And we're in the perfect 2 colors for aristocrats and things like that. Again, I don't think Kumbal is going to be like the number 1 commander from this set by any means, but I think it's a commander that is going to be good in its own right, and it's going to see a lot of play in a lot of decks.
You want to basically play like a fun group hug style? Just start giving your opponents like a bunch of different creature tokens. I just started thinking about that. I think that would be really funny, because, I mean, that's just something we can do in this format, which is great.
Because my mind immediately went to a card like Shadrax, and I'll put it up on screen. Each combat you get to choose to like give someone a 2/1 pest or draw a card, and it's like, well, you could just start giving your opponent those pests and then take one for yourself.
I think what we're also missing here is it says tokens, not just creature tokens.
Yep.
So treasures, clues, food, we've gotten a lot more support.
And think about it, a lot of decks these days play treasures or some sort of artifact tokens. Mm-hmm. Especially non-green decks, right?
Yes.
A lot of Mardu decks really get held up by treasures. Look at the precons for this set. It cares all about using treasures to get outlaws. So I think Kumbal is going to have a really interesting space in our format, and I'm intrigued to see kind of where it gets used.
I think we have the time for this. This Kumbal or the other Kumbal? Well, they're both different right now.
I think it comes down to what you're looking for, right? Let's pull up the other Kumbal, and I'll throw it up on screen here while we awkwardly look for it in front of us.
What do you mean awkwardly? I'm perfectly fine right now.
So we have Kumbal, Console of Allocation, a 3 mana 2/3 human advisor. This is when each opponent casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2, and you gain 2. This is a card one. The other one's effectively a stacks card.
Yeah.
And this one is kind of a stacks card, but a little bit differently. I think it really comes down to your meta. If your meta plays a lot of token decks, no one in our meta plays token decks, then I think this Kumbal's better. But if you see a lot of people at your shop who play spell slingy style decks, then I think the other Kumbal's better.
Here's a fun idea. Just make both decks. Because, I mean, if you had Kumbal Console of Allocation at the helm, you could probably just switch that easily out for this Kumbal profiteering.
Or if you're playing some sort of legendary creatures matter where you're playing both of them because they're both humans, congratulations, you get them still. Humans decks don't exist at all in any 3-color combination.
I'm done.
All right, Mikey, who is your choice? Third choice.
All right, so my third choice, this is actually going to go to a shout out to our friend Roy. He was talking to me like a month ago, I think, before OTJ released, of course. And he was like, man, I just can't wait to build a all Vraska deck and just go fun with Vraska. And I was like, well, you know, Vraska has a legendary creature now. You can make her a commander. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, what? And then I showed him Vraska, the Silencer, my third choice here. So 3 mana, 3/3, so 1 colorless, 1 green, 1 black. That is your wonderful Golgari leader. What is they called? What are they called?
The guild leaders.
Guild leaders, thank you.
Anyways. But she, unfortunately, no longer is.
Oh, that's right. Anyways, the story be funny. So, she's a legendary creature, Gorgon Assassin. She's got Death Touch, which is fantastic. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controlled dies, you may pay 1 mana. If you do, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color, and it loses all other card types.
Really fun ability.
Very fun ability. Like, it is just so much fun. The fact that you can just continuously steal things out of other people's graveyards without having to risk so much. You're in a color combination that very easily can give you Death Touchers or just removal in general. Your favorite removal spell of all time, Assassin's Trophy, is a staple in this now.
You know what's really funny about Assassin's Trophy is it's actually Vraska.
It is.
Who turned Vesperia to stone on the original art of the card.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, Roy, if you're listening, you better be, because I'm going to send you this link and you're going to listen to it. You could add all the Vraskas to this deck, and I think you'd be perfectly fine. Any card that says Vraska, you could add to this deck, and it'd be perfectly fine.
And of course, Roy and probably, of course, no other Magic players are going to love this as an assassin as well. Roy loves his assassin decks.
Yes.
And I think that works really well here because a lot of those black assassins are all like 1/1s with Death Touch.
Yep.
And that gets painful for a lot of people to deal with because I think too often in our format, we tend to only have a few creatures who are really good, like that are workhorses that we rely on, and those decks really punish.
Yeah.
It's kind of why like those Finn the Fangbearer decks are so good. Yes. It's because you just have these just little cheap 1/1 Death Touchers that you're like, ooh, I can't block that profitably, but I also don't want you to hit me with it.
Yep. Yeah, and then the cool thing is like in Roy's case, he wants to do the whole Planeswalker thing, and Green has plenty of proliferate cards if you want to just like stay removal plus proliferate on the card. I'm pretty sure there's like plenty of those. Also, the really cool thing, the side thing that you could really do with this is, excuse me, it's like you said with the assassins. I mean, you're gonna really punish those like reanimate decks or the Eternal Witness kind of style decks or anything like that, or like self mill, bring them back, so like Sidisi style decks. You're going to continue to punish them, and that's what I really
the
like
self mill. You won't hit as bad.
No. What I'm saying is like you'll still get something. Yeah.
I could see this being really good against like if you have somebody in your play group would play something like Muldrotha. This is a card that's going to really shut that down because they won't still be able to use all the rest of them. But like creatures are so important in Muldrotha because they pick a lot of ETB creatures that like really generate value. And so for sure, I like this. I mean, it's not top tier by any means. I like that Vraska finally has, to my knowledge, her first legal card that can be a commander.
Yes, this is. Yes, for sure.
Unless, of course, your play group allows you to play with Planeswalkers, then, of course, you can do that.
Yeah.
But I like it. I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people are going to end up playing this.
Yeah.
This is, I think, is going to be one of those commanders that gets played not just because it has a cool ability, but because it's Vraska.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Golgari players that are going to run to Vraska because she finally has a card you could play. You could put all of her other cards in there, all that kind of Golgari stuff you really care about, and I think this is going to end up being a pretty fun deck to deal with.
And then you continue to, like, Black has gotten some good token support. I mean, Green does too, don't get me wrong, but oh my gosh, now I'm just thinking of, like, Chatterfang and all that garbage. So anyways, the first card that comes to mind, new card that comes to mind is, like, Mirkwood Bats. Yeah. And if you add that to this deck, I think that's going to be a fantastic idea.
The only problem with Mirkwood Bats is you're not actually making a token here.
No, you're not, but you still get the trigger when you sacrifice it. I was just thinking new card that does that. Because it's whenever it enters or leaves the battlefield.
I don't think it's a token, though.
Oh, maybe.
Because you're bringing the actual creature
it is
back.
The card. Oh, never mind. Rewind. Mirkwood Bats.
You would still be able to use things like Agent of the Iron Throne to really take advantage of that.
So then never mind. Just go full Aristocrats because it's still technically a creature card. Wait, no, it's not actually because it loses all card types. I don't know what to do here
You would still
anymore.
play, the Agent of the Iron Throne style effects where you get things with artifacts. You could. There's other cards you can find. You just don't get the things like Mirkwood Bats, but there's still enough there. I really do.
I feel goofy.
Man, it's a shame there's no way to copy them.
Oh, no. No, dude.
But I think Vraska's interesting. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have any thoughts on Vraska. I think this is the first one we've talked about so far that I think is going to be a character that's like really beloved by the
Yeah.
player base. I think a lot of people like Malcolm and Breeches, but they're not like fan favorites. Malcolm and Breeches are
They
just
shouldn't
fun
be. They're just
because
random, yeah.
But I think Vraska is probably the first commander we've talked about so far who's like really well loved. Geese and Geralt probably had in their own right for the zombie fans. They like Geese and Geralt. Of course, that card, Geese and Geralt, is one of the more popular zombie commanders of its
And
time.
anybody who loves being rizzed by Kellen, probably.
Yeah, the Rizzler. He's out here rizzing everybody up.
Rizzing it up.
That was my response when I read the OTJ story, just because Wizards is kind of cultivating him a relationship with Amalia.
I may have also... I posted a picture in our group that had like the whole like was it like the I guess like a title scene or whatever, and then like Oko like shirtless like 42 pack going on, and I was like, all right, Oko need to stop being a daddy out here, like come on, man.
Yeah.
Gonna steal my woman real quick.
But it's just, I think it's interesting that they're kind of giving us that mini relationship between Amalia and Kellen. So when we talk about the Kellen's out here just unknowingly rizzing up ladies and just no one knows that
awesome.
with this Fey blood. But we both thought that 3 apiece would be cool, right? But we thought, why not include 1 or 2 more, especially because there's so many commanders in the set.
Yeah.
There actually are a lot.
There are, and they're all pretty great.
I didn't want to pick this commander in my top 3 because I love this card. I think this card's going to be really good.
But it's going to go in his 99.
But I think there's other really great token commanders. So my first honorable mention is going to be Girid, Mirror of the Wilds. A 3-mana 3/3 human shaman with haste. It says non-token creatures you control have tap, create a token that's a copy of target token you control that ATB this turn. I think this is a really interesting card because it does everything that kind of his old card wanted to do, right? Populate was a thing that existed on his old card. Populate's very popular in those Naya decks where you create a copy of a token you already have. This is a teeny little bit different because it's got to have come in this turn. But if you're already playing a Naya tokens deck, whether it be the original Girid, whether it be Ginny Fae, whether it be Jetmir, whether it be something like Voya, if you're going kind of the elves route, right? This one doesn't have either of the types, so some people may not play it there.
That's a good point.
But I think this is a card that I think is going to see a lot more love in the 99 than it will as its own commander.
Yeah.
But I also could see people who maybe have an original Girid switch over to this one because I think you do have some more space to play around in.
What I love about this card is it has haste, so he can do it, and it says non-token creatures, which is himself as well. So he can do this his own ability, just as anybody else can. So you like make
what I really like about this ability, it's not just that you get to make another token, which is a great ability, but it's that a lot of time in tokens decks, if y'all aren't familiar with tokens decks,
sorry, what? You go wide.
The creatures that make the tokens or that affect the tokens traditionally aren't attacking themselves. Let me give you a perfect example. Something like King Darien, which buffs all other creatures you control and can make tokens and can sacrifice to protect tokens. A lot of times isn't going to be attacking itself. No. It's going to be sitting there. Perfect for this ability. Right. Adeline's kind of a bad example because it's actually a really great attacker because it's being a star for it. But there are some other creatures, for example,
Does she have vigilance?
She does.
Well then, voila.
But some other ones, things things like a Farmer Cotton
my first thing was Oboon. Do you want to make 2 giant land creatures?
Or like Wildfire Awakener. These creatures that come in and make tokens when they come in, not all of them care about attacking. And so this can be really good because then they just, AOZ is actually a really great idea. But they just come in and tap. I could actually see this being probably useful in the new Yuma desert decks, or the Hizazon desert decks that are out there. Girid's probably not going to look obvious on first look, but could be pretty good, especially because in those decks, you're going to find a way to either hasty up those tokens or just go wide. But I like Girid. I think it's really fun. I think the art is absolutely cool. Girid's always been a character I've liked. In fact, we joked around that I actually was in the middle of building a Girid deck when Jetmir got spoiled for Streets of New Capenna, and that kind of changed my whole trajectory on Naya Tokens deck. But I'm glad to see Girid back in a really cool card, and I can't wait to put this in a deck or two.
You're gonna slam it into Jetmir.
Absolutely.
Slam it into my face.
Absolutely slamming it.
All right, so let me talk about my first, I guess, quote unquote, honorable mention. This is my first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I first off love the name of this character. Second, I thought we really needed to talk about something like this just because of the value you get out of this guy. His name is Doc. What am I saying? Doc Arlock, grizzled genius. He's a Simic little color combination for a 2/3 legendary creature bear druid. He says spells you cast from your graveyard or from exile cost 2 less to cast. Plotting cards from your hand cost 2 less. I ain't worried about that second ability. That first ability is value.
Pure value.
Pure value.
This is really cool because this is the first uncommon legendary that we're talking about this episode, and the only one.
Yeah, the only one.
But this set has a lot of uncommon commanders.
It does.
Like earlier when we talked about breaches, right? I think Malcolm was an uncommon.
I think Malcolm
because
is uncommon
he is,
now.
I believe, the signpost uncommon for the draft archetype.
Yes.
But what I find really interesting is that a lot of these uncommon commanders in the set are like one step away from being there, but they have some really cool lines of text. Like, almost all of them have one line of text that's, like, really cool. You never want to build a deck around just it, but it could be, like, bonkers in the right deck.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about Doc. Like, it's I don't know that I want to build a deck around it itself, but it's really great. And, again, like we talked about earlier, those Muldrotha-style graveyard decks.
There you go.
If you're playing the Gonti precon, this seems pretty solid in there because you're stealing your opponent's things from exile and casting them, and this is reducing that by 2.
You also just talked about a good commander. The kid. Kellen.
Yeah. No, Kellen's not that good. No, I'm
saying like he easily goes to 99. Gorian, the teamer.
Because this is gonna with Kellen, right? If you're gonna go that adventure route, it actually would work in Baluna, the teamer one. Baluna, as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. You would still have to pay the full cost for that adventure spell that you put.
That's fine.
Out there, cheap. But then all of them have most of the time slightly overcosted creatures that you then pay back, and you're getting that back for cheaper.
No, Malcolm is a legendary, or excuse me, a rare.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an uncommon.
I thought so too.
Bad. But I like this. It's interesting. I don't think we have enough support for plot. But you can see why this is probably the signpost uncommon for plot.
Yes,
I would imagine.
I will say though, some of the plot cards are actually really good.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember them off name because I mean that's not what I'm here for. Sorry, I'm not.
I don't remember.
I'm here for pretty face and fun cards.
But I would genuinely guess there's probably you can plot any card from your hand by playing its mana cost type.
There is. Geez,
I don't remember the name of it.
I'm gonna look it up. While
we'll put it here. On. We'll put it here on screen. But we'll put it there on screen. But anyway, I know there is one. I don't remember the name of it, but I'm sure it exists. Well,
I'm gonna find it.
I'll move on to my final honorable mention, and this is a card that I've had kind of a love-hate relationship with this character's cards in the past, but I'm so glad that we get one that seems really fun and is going to be really helpful in some other decks.
Sorry, they all seem really fun. Let's be fair. This one probably seems the most fun.
There's one that I really just is like, I don't really like the Karlov Manor one. I don't really think it's that great. Like, it's not Showstopper. It's not.
There's a Karlov Manor one?
Yeah, isn't that great? 2 cards in a row. We're talking about Rakdos the Muscle.
Oh.
A 5-mana 6/5 Demon Mercenary, Flying Trample, Flample. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library until your next end step. You may play those cards, and mana of any type may be spent to cast those spells. Notice, friends, that didn't say your library. It's a target player's library, so that's kind of fun. You're not focused on your own library. You could be anyone's. And then that wasn't enough. We need to pay off that sacrifice ability by saying, sacrifice another creature, Rakdos the Muscle gains indestructible on a turn, tap it, do this only once each turn. Is this the best Rakdos? No, I think the Showstopper is the most Rakdos card I've ever seen. I mean, the fact that you literally get to flip a coin for every creature that isn't a demon on the battlefield just feels so right for what Rakdos is as a creature.
Maybe you live, maybe you die. We'll see.
But what I like about this one is it's kind of showing off some of the prowess that Rakdos has in just having big creatures or creatures that you want to sacrifice anyway. What I also like about Rakdos the Muscle is whether you choose to build a deck with it it goes really well into some of these Jund sacrifice style decks that are going to really be able to take advantage of Rakdos. Rakdos is a 5-mana 6/5 that's already great in its own right.
Yeah.
This is not a creature that you only need the ability is what makes it worth it. I think a 5-mana 6/5 is great. Josh, specifically from our play group, should be looking at this for his Grixis Demons deck, which is another deck that probably really cares about this ability.
I hear Rakdos is a demon.
He is. Isn't it crazy that that's the case?
That's what it says on the wanted poster, at least.
But I really like this specifically. If you're playing this commander, that's great because I've always wanted to build it. I've just never found a list I've liked. If you're still playing like a Ziatora Jund sacrifice deck from Capenna that sacrifices creatures and then you deal damage and get 3 treasures, like this feels like a really good card for that style of deck. Hey, Mikey, there's a popular Jund commander that gets bigger the more things you sacrifice.
Yeah,
isn't there?
I undertone said it. Maybe nobody heard me.
Yeah, I think there's one. I think he's like a dragon.
Both Corvold.
And like he got remade as a card that was worse, but the old one was better.
Yeah.
At any rate, I love this card. Whether you choose to build it as your own a commander, which I think would be great in its own right, or you put it into some of those Jund sacrifice decks, I think Rakdos is going to be very well played, and I expect this card to hold some value.
I agree.
Again, I don't think it's going to be a top 5 commander from this set. I think people might try, because I think this is the Rakdos that kind of cares the least about demons specifically.
Yeah.
So this can kind of play more into even that Rakdos sacrifice if that's what you want to do.
Ooh,
Rakdos there meaning the color combination, not the demon.
Well, I was about to say you could play it with like not Judith. Is it Judith? No, Jury.
Jury, yeah.
Jury's good.
Jury would fit in really well with it. Again, I really like this card. This is what I want from a Rakdos card, and it makes me really happy that was I'm actually talking about the demon and not the color combination.
Oh, dear Lord.
Isn't it great when we talk about 2 color combinations when it's the name of something?
He's that into himself, yes.
I really love this card. I might try to find somewhere to put this card because I think it's a really cool card. And I hope I open one of these because the version I put up on screen will, for all of these, if it's possible, we will put up the wanted frames. Yep. And I really think Rakdos looks really cool. Did you find the card from the?
Yes, yeah, it's Fibblethip.
Of course, it's Fibblethip. I kind of in the back of my head was like, was Fibblethip? And we'll make sure that was up.
The fact that I said that right the first time makes me happy because I did not know how to pronounce his name until just
Mikey,
last week.
Your last honorable mention, a card I knew you were going to be very excited about.
I am. So we are going to be talking about. This is actually not the last one. We might have to add the last one because we talked about every single person on Oko's crew except for Oko himself and one other person. Which is Annie, right? That's her name?
Annie Flash.
Annie Flash.
Annie Flash.
But before we talk about Annie Flash...
That was probably offensive. Guys, I'm sorry.
We also didn't talk about...
We will. We'll finish up.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about all of them. Might as well.
We'll pull all these up here and we'll finish them off after we finish talking about your choice.
Yes.
Another member of Oko's Merry Band of Villains.
Yes. So I chose Tiny Bones, who's a 1 black mana, 1/1 Death Touch, legendary creature, skeleton rogue. This man... near and dear to my heart. Not really. It kind of, when it came up, I was like, oh, wow. He is not a good commander. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, he's actually a really great commander. Because whereas his older version, which is actually the deck that I just recently built, and I will be testing out and playing and probably building out because it just is a lot of fun. Because it's a control style deck that is only mono black, and I have my blue-black control style deck, and this is a totally different
strategy. Tiny Bones, that discard style mono black deck. Yeah,
all about the discarding cards. This one, however, is just all about what's in your opponent's graveyard, because it says whenever Tiny Bones, the pit pocket, deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target non-land permanent card from that player's graveyard, and mana of any type can be spent to cast this spell.
Of course, it's good because then you can cast anything you hit.
Exactly, and him being a 1/1 Death Toucher, you're gonna get in at least, let's say, 1, 2, maybe 3 times. That is going to be enough for you to go,
Or you just make him your ring bearer and, what's going to be able to block Tiny Bones
I was going to say, or you make him a ring bearer, or you play Rogue's Passage, or the other one.
Aqueous 4. Or no, that's in blue.
That's in blue.
There's one more, like Whisper Silk Cloak and things like that.
There's some other stuff. So you can make him unblockable,
which if this is your commander, you're playing the Whisper Silk Cloaks. You're finding those things that make it unblockable. Give it Fear, give it Skulk. You'll find the things to give it pseudo-unblockable and get it in for damage.
And you're not really looking for the commander damage when you're looking to just try to win off of what you have probably either gotten rid of from discard, destroying, or milling, off of the library of your opponents. And that's what I think is going to be what you're really looking for.
The type line here is important. It is a skeleton, so if you want to put it in that Geese deck we talked about.
True.
It is also a rogue, so if you're going to play that outlaw style deck, whether it's with the precon or you're going to do that, it is a rogue, so it is going to fit into that deck.
And you can also fit it in Anawan if you wanted to, which mills already, so it goes into a 99 very quickly.
There's also, of course, there's a couple really good like Mardu legendary commanders. This fit really well as well. I like Tiny Bones. I don't think it's going to be top 5 for the commanders of this set, but I think it's going to be darn close.
No, it won't, because I think he's just super weak on the field.
But I think there's enough players that are going to make it happen.
Yeah. My biggest thing that I'm listening to now to anybody that talks about Magic Commander style is, does it die to Orcish Bowmasters? Or Orcish Bowmaster now?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah, it's literally what everybody says.
Yeah, yet to see one in Casual Commander. But
this is true, because we actually like each other.
That's a great card, don't get me wrong. It's just no one wants to, well, at the time it came out, no one wanted to pay $50 for a card that you're just not going to see. Right? It's like it's up there for sure.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I love Tiny Bones. Yeah. I think we've talked about last episode, our first episode of Mikey's Time Back, how much we loved Tiny Bones' interactions with Rakdos and the story. Yeah. Tiny Bones is cool. I think the original Tiny Bones is a ton of fun. Yep. From Dumbstar, I'll put it up on the screen so you can see that one.
And put the cool one.
The Secret Lair version. Yeah. The discard style is fun. It kind of got hated on a lot with Turgid because it was kind of the commander that really. It's a terrible joke, but really demonized like that style of deck, and I think Tiny Bones made it a teeny bit better.
And that's something I wanted to do. Like, I just wanted to build a discard deck. I was like, I really love Thoughtseize, I love Duress. I have the Arcane, like League of Legends show. Yeah. I have that where it has Jinx on it, so I was like, I want to put this in a deck. And discard became the thing, and I was like, oh, I could play Turgid. I should not play Turgid. I like people. So then I found Tiny Bones, and I was like, ooh, I can make people I can make them lose life. This is fantastic. So so I built the Tiny Bones deck. Maybe on the next episode where I'm, you see my face, I will tell you all about how it went when I actually get to sit down and play, whenever that is.
Whenever we actually play the next time.
You play all the time. I don't have time.
Playing's great. It's a crazy thing. I don't know. Well, let's run through the rest of Ogo's merry band of brothers / people.
Sisters? Women? Men?
Well, Band of Brothers is the name of a movie. That was the joke. But, merry band of villains.
Annie Flash, ladies and gentlemen, the veteran.
A 6-mana, 4/5 human rogue with Flash. Yeah, is it her name? Annie Flash? Whenever Annie Flash enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever she becomes tapped, exile the top 2 cards to your library. You can play those cards this turn.
Before you say anything, I don't like this card.
It seems too busy.
Yep. And it's in Naya. Why is it in Naya? It should be in a different color combination.
Honestly, 6 mana feels like way too much. Mm-hmm. I get the bottom ability, and if the bottom ability's fine, exile top 2, play them from exile, okay, kind of getting it. Kind of feels like this should be a Bant commander to go with Kellen.
Yeah.
Because there's so many cards in that archetype that care about it. Like, yes, Cascade exists in Naya, but it's not like it is in Bant. Like, that's why I figured this would make more sense there. I think the middle effect's kind of cheeky, kind of that white, bring something back from your graveyard. Okay, I get it. I don't know why I'd want this as my commander.
I mean, this is even more so like an Abzan style. If it was an Abzan, oh my gosh. It's fantastic.
He on X Games.
You're telling me I can play Siege Rhino on another deck, even though it's not 3 value.
Again, I appreciate what they're doing here. They're trying to make different things. I don't see any Flash being like a big deal. We'll move on to a commander that you have played on the table, but we have a new version, Ariette the Beguiler.
She's fantastic.
A 4-mana 4/4 human warlock, which is part of the Outlaws batch.
Yes.
Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that aura's mana value... gain control of that permanent for as long as that aura is attached to it.
That's a lot of words just to say you're going to put an aura on a creature, you're going to take that creature. Just play it smartly.
I was trying to think in my head, what auras that cost a ton am I putting on my opponent's things? Because here's the thing, the sweet spot is Darksteel Mutation, Imprisoned in the Moon, these style of auras, but like they're like 3 mana. How many things am I really looking forward to taking?
You don't want to put those on creatures that you weren't taking control of. You want to put like the I'm gonna buff the heck out of this creature kind of style, right? You want to put the like the Umbras,
but again, they're so cheap. Like my question becomes, what are you getting out of them? Like that's that's the part of this deck that in full transparency, this is the deck's getting brewed for the channel. But like, I'm trying to figure out where is that sweet spot on the mana value train where you're getting a good response back. Because if you can't find it, I would just rather play her Wild Eldraine version.
Yeah, I was about to say it's got to be
either like that. Because it's so good. It actually you've played it to great success, and it does really well on the tabletop.
It does. It might come back to
the
table.
So listen, there's probably something I'm missing. There's probably some crazy set of 12 auras that I'm completely missing that make this super broke. And if I am, please let me know in the comments.
Yeah, but I really need to know.
But I just don't see it.
Well, because I even looked at this and said this is not like Zur the Enchanter, which nothing will be. But I was like, man, I really wish I could play Zur in this deck or play her in Zur. I guess you could play her in Zur, but like still, I feel like Zur plays like normal Ariat because you could play normal Ariat in Zur. Sorry, this is a lot of weird words.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm missing something here.
But like you're trying to control, and this you're trying to control, but like in a weird different way. I don't know.
I feel like Marlin in Finding Nemo when the turtles are talking to him, and he's like he's trying to say something to me. I know it. Like when I read this ability, I'm like, it's like they're trying to tell me how to build it.
Hang on. This connects. I love how this always connects. I literally just saw a video. This has nothing to do with this. But I saw a video this morning at like 4 a.m. thanks to my child, popping in a second tooth, of a woman going, I just learned that sea turtles, they eat jellyfish. And when they eat jellyfish, they get like a sensation, like a high. And that's why when Marlon was talking to Crush, they sounded a little
Wait, you mean they would imply that things are high in kids' movies? No, I'm just kidding. Like
in Pixar?
But anyway, I think Ariat, it seems like it'd be a good commander if you could figure that thing out.
It seems decent.
If you could figure it out, I think it's going to be good. Otherwise, I don't see it.
Let's move on to two people who love to annoy each other. They did it in the story, I think.
They did a lot, yeah.
We got Swordman, Satoru, the Infiltrator, for 1 black, 1 blue. A 2/3 legendary creature, human ninja rogue. God,
that's at least one relevant creature type. So I mean, what's the worst?
Give me 4 creature types next time. Anyways, it's got the Menache. Whenever Satoru, the Infiltrator, and or one or more other non-token creatures enter the battlefield under your control, if none of them were cast or no mana was spent to cast them, draw a card.
Hey, Mikey, out of curiosity, do you know of a certain creature type that maybe activates abilities to put themselves on the battlefield to take advantage of a certain situation in one phase of the game?
I feel like you're like stabbing me with my own Yuriko deck.
No, I mean, I just was honest. Is there a mechanic that you can think of?
Yeah, Ninjutsu.
Do you like that I got more specific as I went on?
Ninjutsu is really good here. Ninjutsu is really great. Putting thing. Hang on.
Every turn you ninjutsu, you're going to draw a card because you're not casting them, you're activating an ability.
Stealing creatures is also a fun thing, which can be done with blue and black. We just saw that in Ariat, so you can just...
And then, if you want to put them into a rogue deck, now you're taking advantage of maybe some of that stealing cards out of somebody's hand or their deck or their graveyard or off the top of their deck.
I just love how they all work
together.
Anawan
and some of those really care about milling things and doing things like that.
You could put Tiny Bones into this and have fun with that. There you go.
I almost feel like we got something. We're getting
there. We're getting there.
We have some sort of big brain plan and we're getting there. But I like Satoru. I mean, my problem sometimes is when you have a commander as enigmatic as Yuriko, it's very hard to make new ninja commanders and like make them... What I like about Satoru is they were really smart to put both Ninja and Rogue on this card. Because you now have 2 decks that both probably still want this card no matter what. It has Menace, so think about it. It's also an enabler for ninjutsu, because if you attack the right player, you don't mind picking up Satoru because it's only 2 mana, right? You don't care if you don't get his ability because it's 2 mana. You can just recast it. Yep. And in the Rogue decks... That means you're probably guaranteeing some damage to your opponent. You're getting the Anawan style effects. You're getting your Mind Crank style effects to go off. Like, I really like this card. It's not... I don't think it's going to be a commander that's, top 100 of EDH or anything like that. No. But I like cards that really do well in the 99. I don't mind them being legendary if they do that. And I mean, blue has no way to copy legendary creatures effectively. So I mean, it's not like that matters.
Yeah, just play Sakashima. No, anyways, moving on.
The last of the big Miri crew is Karavek the Punisher. A
Hands.
1 in double black for a 3/3 human warlock. It says whenever you commit a crime, you exile up to 1 target black card from your graveyard and copy it. You may cast the copy. If you do, you lose 2 life.
I thought this guy died, honestly. Like in the
Hey,
story.
Mikey,
Not in this story, but a different
out of curiosity, does this say once per turn?
I actually realized this? No, it doesn't.
Man, it would be a real shame if Mono Black didn't have a way to make like a ton of mana on 1 turn. Do you know any cards in Mono Black that would like be able to make you a ton of mana on 1 turn?
I'm just thinking of like going and getting. I'm sorry. My brain went straight to like Demonic Tutor, and then go get whatever you need to commit a crime, and then you just cast Demonic Tutor again, and then you cast Demonic Tutor again.
The only bad part is you exile it from your graveyard, so you kind of get to only do it once.
Oh, true.
My point is, this isn't labeled to once per turn. You're in a color that has Cabal Coffers.
Yeah.
You know, and we just talked about when we talked about Gisa that there's so many great cards in black that commit crimes.
Yeah.
So it's like you're gonna find a great way to pay this off. Now, my only problem with Karavek is that the question becomes: is the payoff better than Gisa for committing a crime? You could arguably say yes, depending on what you choose to put in your deck. I would say, personally, for me, I'd rather play Gisa over this. Just because I love my tokens, I love my tribal-style decks.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of, like, cards I would think of that...
But the good thing about Karavek could be, it's not a non-land... It doesn't say non-land, it doesn't say a specific type. So you could get creatures with this, you could get spells with this, you could get Breach the Multiverse with this, you could get some of these just bonkers high cost black spells with this. You know, you play something like Breach and have it in your graveyard, you play a 1 mana black spell to Thoughtseize somebody, and then you can pay that 7 in Breach again, or Rise of the Dark Realms again, or Kindred Dominance again. You know, you pick these big black spells that are really good. I think that's where Karavek probably excels, is getting up to those mid to late games where you have a lot of mana and just unleashing some of these really tough black spells. Like Invoke Despair could be kind of tough depending on the right person you put it on, right? These just Gix's Command and things like that. There are some of these black spells that I think are 4 to 7 mana that would be really good to kind of keep spitting back out, and I think that's where Karavek would.
You want 2 Archfiend of Depravities? Like, here you go, bud.
So, I mean, other than that, I'm not entirely sure that there's anything else you can do with this Karavek. I mean, again, it probably feels really good in any, like, Mardu Legendaries deck, because you're just going to have enough spells laying around. Yeah. Man, would you love to Ruinous Ultimatum a second time? Or
never. Or
Crackling Doom a second time?
Or, like I said, Demonic Tutor twice.
Over Demonic Tutor twice. Or 3 times. I'm just kidding. Put this in a Grixis deck and just...
Go to town
and just have value. I like it. Again, I don't think it's a top 5 commander in its own right, but here's an example of a commander who's very buildable on its own, but also looks really good in the 99. And I think that's, to me, where I land on a lot of the legendaries from this set. Are they're either okay by themselves, not a bad deck, or like killer 99 cards in other decks.
Yeah, I can agree. Moving away from Karavek and back to the set itself, well, who do you think is probably your best commander from this set? Who do you think the best commander is from this set?
Who do I think is going to be like number 1 EDH rec, like best commander in the set?
I mean, it's no Ishian, but it's okay.
I'm going to be honest, my gut tells me Kellen. It's just what the card does is a little bit too good. It's in the perfect colors to do it. And I think it's going to be really good. Not because it's of the adventure stuff. To me, it looks a lot like an Atraxa, the Praetor's Voice, where it has just enough words on it where you could build it any number of ways you want to, and someone's gonna make the darn thing work.
I mean, yeah.
I genuinely like a lot of legendaries in this set, which feels good after some other sets in the recent past where I just didn't really like any. I'm intrigued to see how many commander decks really get built from this set because there's a lot of really fun legendaries. I also think like if you're the kind of person who's playing a legendary matters deck in like any relevant 3-color combination, you're gonna have lots of love from a set like this. You know, to get some cool things. You know,
It's got a lot of cool characters in it. Yeah.
if you're playing those, those legendary matters type, decks, I think something in this set is going to work out for you and work out really well. Like looking at these cards, I'm seeing, 2-color cards that, like we talked about with Satoru and all these, that just work in so many decks. Breaches works in so many decks. Satoru works in so many decks, and I think that's what makes. If a legendary creature can't always be like the best on its own for a deck, I like it when it can fit in a lot of other decks to really support them.
I agree, and that's kind of why I like with the commanders I chose, except for like Vraska, were all kind of wrapped up into that. Was if it wasn't going to be good on its own, then in the 99 was perfectly fine. Oh, and Mag.
And there's some other commanders we didn't really bring up just because I think they're flavorfully really fun.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they're going to be great decks in their own right.
Looking at one
I'll be
right
honest,
now.
the only one I didn't mention that I kind of wanted to mention, but it's out of my normal style, and so I really don't know how to build it, is Obika, Splinter of Seconds. It's a 4-mana 2/5 Grixis commander that says whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it has menace. You get that many additional upkeeps after this phase. Very intriguing card, right? In its own right, there's a lot of upkeep effects in Grixis, so I'd be kind of intrigued what people do with that. Obika was a deck originally that cared about ending the turn at the right time and kind of hosing of the decks. So I'm intrigued to see what that does. I know you talked a lot about trying to make the new Riku work, and you just couldn't get there on making it feel like it was relevant for what you wanted.
Yeah. The spells that, like the modal, is how you say it?
Yeah.
The modal spells, most of them honestly are just way too expensive. And yeah, you're playing in green and red, so you get the mana.
I think you really got to have those charms be your workhorses, and
Yeah.
the question becomes, are there enough of them to be really relevant?
The issue that I was running into is like I wanted to at least have a spell, or most of my modal spells I could choose two. The issue that I also ran into was realizing that I couldn't choose like non-instant or sorceries as this, which was kind of sad, but...
My only thought is you're in the perfect colors to copy them, though.
Yeah.
And when you copy things,
Yes.
generally you can pick different targets.
Yeah.
So I think Riku, that's the only thing that saves it, is you're in the perfect 3-color combination to copy spells. Like, Riku feels like a really great card to pair something like Calamax with, where you can then copy those spells and take really advantage of them.
Yeah.
The other commander that was kind of half interesting to me was Lila, Undefeated Slickshot. A 3-mana 3/3 with Prowess says when you cast a multicolored instant or sorcery, you get to exile it instead of putting it into your graveyard, and it becomes plotted. It was an idea on the card I really liked, and I'm working on it for the channel. It won't be out by the time this episode's out, but it'll be out in the coming week or two. But there just weren't that many multicolored spells in Izzet that are real bangers that you want to plot. Because when you plot them, you cast them for free, and if you plot an X spell, that X is going to be 0.
Yeah.
So it kind of ruins some of the big, like, really splashy Izzet spells, that get really fun.
Yeah. Are there any commanders that you're going to at least test from this set?
From this set, I have yet to see a commander that like really makes me want to jump at one of them. I mean, obviously, we talked about Girard going into the Jatmira card that I really love.
Tiny Bones will go into my other Tiny Bones deck.
Rakdos would be one of those cards that would make me really want to go back to one of those, like, not Corvold, but more that Ziatora, like, really fun Jund-style sacrifice decks, 'cause I think it's one of those cards that would really make you want to do that.
Yep.
But honestly, not really. Another episode, we'll kind of talk about our thoughts on the pre-con commanders.
Yep.
We can go into those, and I think there's some interesting stuff there. But again, none of them are like, you need to build this. If I had to pick one, though, if you forced me right now, Meals, you have to build one deck from this set, it'd be
Please
Yuma.
don't.
It'd be Yuma. I think that Naya Desert's idea is really fun. You get to play... The first card I put into my Yuma deck was Obun, because it's up that similar vein. There's so many great stuff with like Scapeshift and Splendid Reclamation that can get those lands back out of your graveyard. Like it's a landfall deck that cares about making tokens, so that's of course something that's up my alley, something like that. That would be my choice, to be 100% honest, but I think there's a lot of really good stuff in this set. How about you? If push comes to shove, I had to force you to build one commander from the set, what would it be?
Honestly, it probably would be like Gisa. I think she's super
so
good. I think if she... Nothing's gonna beat Crick, honestly. But like, if she just had something that kind of pushed her a little bit more, maybe she'd cost 4 mana. Maybe
to me, my mono black commander choice would be Gix. Like that card is so good, and
yeah,
where it
it's
sits
super
in the,
good.
and where it sits in the mana value, it's so easy to get a creature or two out by the time you get Gix out, and then really take advantage of its value.
For sure. But now I think she has a lot of value, especially getting her out. That ward, you have to pay an extra 2, and then you also pay 2 life. Like eek, like that can get really gross really quick.
And again, there are some really good zombie cards in blue, but a lot of the main really good zombie cards, the ones that give all your zombies death touch,
I was about to say, the ones that
make your
ones
zombies
yeah.
really tough to deal with, are all in black. So
Yeah.
like it feels really perfect. I'd be intrigued, and it will come out on the channel, so you'll see what skeleton cards end up going in there for me when I brew that. But it's one of those things where like I'm intrigued to see what a deck like that looks like.
Yeah, same here. Oh, actually, I say that I'm probably gonna build Magda.
Yeah.
Or not build, but at least test it. I have to.
I'm intrigued to see what it looks like. Again, I'm intrigued to play a Kellen deck eventually to see what someone can do with it. I always like playing against commanders and seeing what people think of for it. Geralf is a card that I can't wait to slam into a spell-slinging deck. It's not Ovika, but like there's a lot of other spell-slinging decks that I really love slamming into. It will be coming out in this content rotation cycle, but I'm re-putting back together my Anhello idea. The one that whenever the first spell you cast each turn has Casualty 2. Geralf makes 2/2 zombies when you cast spells, meaning that you can set those tokens up to be able to casualty them.
Yeah.
So he feels really good in a deck like that. And Hello's been my way to try to bring Kess back without bringing Kess itself. Kess is a commander I really love, but it's a commander that carries an association with it.
I was okay with it, other than...
And the thing I liked about Anhello was just pushing a little bit more towards that like spell singing token style.
I was trying to remember my flaw with that deck, and I was like, I don't really have a flaw with that deck. It was just I couldn't figure out how to beat it.
But
sometimes that happens.
Yeah, so Mikey, we had at least one person comment last time on the word. We told people to comment if they made it this far. What should our viewers put in the comment section to let them know that they made it this far into the
you know what? I'm looking to the future. Bloomborough is the word. Because that set's going to be amazing. This set's awesome, but that set's going to be amazing.
I think, what are we thinking? We'll probably do at least one more OTJ episode, probably talking about the cards in the 99 we really
we'll
like.
Talk about the cards. We'll probably talk about the pre-con commanders.
We'll do a pre-con type episode.
We might mix the pre-con with.
And I'll say it on camera because it's an idea that intrigued me that somebody brought up to me the other day in person, and I think I'm going to try to make it happen. I personally have a copy of each of the 4 pre-cons coming for other things. But I think it might be cool to try to set up a live stream for us to play the pre-cons against each other.
Oh,
we have 2 people interested in doing that with us, so I think that might be fun. Try to set up a night to
schedule that down real quick.
Play the pre-cons. It'll probably be a little bit late. I'm sure there'll be plenty of other people that have played them before then. But I think that could be fun to play before the pre-cons.
It's always fun playing for pre-cons.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love that the pre-con commanders are borderless now. If you were waiting or needed that little bit of extra push to make you buy one of them, they're going to look really cool. I think that their borderless is a really good addition to them.
Now just stop making non-full art lands.
Yeah. Listen, you can just turn it off now. I'm going to go on for like 45 more minutes of this. I'm just kidding.
Well, with that, Mills, you got anything else for us?
Thank you guys so much for watching. Mikey and I are stoked to be doing this again. Stoked to be back.
You're just closing it out for us. I see how it is.
And I like the magic.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time.